brought to you by Turn-Based Tactics, Steam's best community and curator for all turn-based game lovers. Link in the description.
On the battlefields of ancient Japan, the mighty General Akamoto stands ready to become Shogun on the eve of his greatest battle. Betrayed by a shadowy figure, he finds himself transported to the shores of the dead, where a ragtag misfit army is his only chance to break down the gates to the afterlife and gain the title of Shogun of the Dead.
Style of the Shogun, wreak havoc, static, I'm magic, I fear no one. No time to play, we on a mission. First place, of course, it's a given. Make it put it down like it's too hot. Hear the tune knock, shatter your boombox. From your head to your tube socks, this is action. Nah, we don't move blocks. Akamoto slashing them all. First one to stand to the last one to fall. Summoning, bludgeoning, troubling. I wanna win. Walk before I crawl, cause I'm here to ball. Lyrical, break it down, y'all spirit wall. Ordering, slaughter them, thought of them, be sure to win. Say your soul is half the price. Welcome to the samurai afterlife. 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 Afterlife.
Well, that was money well spent. Yo, it's Dylan, also known as Xander from the forums, and I got new soundproofing, so all you can hear now is the luscious sound of my voice and my laptop fan. Oh. Well, anyway, we're looking at Skulls of the Shogun. And you play this guy. Oh. Yeah, that happens. So you actually play this guy. And, yeah, this is a pretty old game, which also means it's a cheap game. Check that out. But it's about 15 to 20 hours campaign, so that's pretty good value for money. It also has additional challenges for every level, as well as a whole mini campaign with a unit carryover thing that doesn't normally happen in this linear campaign. That's the size of the campaign we're looking at. 4 worlds plus this tutorial world here, which we'll be playing through this and one of the normal fights, just so you get a good taste of what you're getting into here. Also, that clouded off place to the north is the added campaign. Once you beat the game, you get access to that. And that was added right away after this release. This is the Bonafide Edition. It's really the only edition you can get, because the non-Bonafide Edition was a Windows 8 exclusive. Yeah, it's this old. That's how old it is. But yeah, I mean, once they figured out that was a bad idea, it's a pretty good game, especially since they had time to polish it up and add some more content and add that snazzy rap you heard at the beginning. But yeah, this is essentially the game, or at least the tutorial of the game. You're that general, you click to select basic stuff, no hex grid, so it's freedom of movement. You can really cheese that, as you will see soon enough. But yeah, as you can see, you get units under your general. The general, if he dies, of course, just like Jim Raynor, you lose the level and have to restart. So you want to protect him, but he's also your most powerful unit, so he's also very useful. Right now he only has 1 attack, but over the course of the tutorial he gains a new sword, and you can also power him up like every other unit into a demon form, but I'm getting ahead of myself. There's not very many units, to be honest. There's other than your general, there's 3 main units. 2 of them you're seeing right here, the samurai and the cavalry. There's also archers. And you're like, oh, that's not very many. Well, that may be true. There are a couple things that help with that. One is that you can change any of those units into their demon forms, once again. We'll see that later. But two, there's also these things called shrines that you can capture that give you all sorts of things like rice, the main economy of the game. Also, you can buy additional units with those rice at a certain shrine. You can get a turret later in the game. You can also get monk shrines, which basically allow you to utilize the power of these monk units. And it's like something you fight over, so if they take over the monk shrine while you're using that monk, your monk disappears or dies and their monk gets spawned. So it's quite an interesting way to do things where unit variety is kind of determined by how well you're doing in the fight a lot of the time. So that's really cool. And it kind of makes up for the lack of unit variety. And also, the thing you just saw there was you can knock back your enemies off cliffs and into thorny bushes and things. And it actually can damage them or outright kill them if it's off a cliff. And that's another really interesting feature this game has that some games use, but it's not too common. A way to defend against the knockback is these red aura that you see to your left here around your units. That's called a spirit wall. It can be used as cover. It can stop you from being knocked back. It's basically the replacement for formation on the grid. Now, as the tutorials just pointed out there, you only have 5 turns in a round. Which means, yes, I know, that's a huge turnoff for some people, having limited moves in a turn. But, hear me out, it actually adds some tactical depth to the decisions you're making. Because it forces you to prioritize your moves and really, especially if you split your forces, really get the most out of every unit. Like, squeeze out that value. And it can be really interesting, almost like a puzzle. Although I use that term lightly, it's very free. Like there's no precise way you're supposed to win. I mean, in some of these tutorial levels, it does like prescribe like exactly what you should do to win this scenario, but it's only a suggestion to help teach you how to do things in this game and how to think. But it's just a suggestion. It's actually better than a lot of these types of tutorials in these kind of casual games. It's a lot better than those ones because it's not like hand-holding you through the process. It's not stopping you from doing anything but what they want to say. There's no like highlighted point where you must move your unit to do this thing they want to show you. They just kind of let you have it, and as you discover things, they'll point it out. And they do slowly add mechanics over time, and throughout the whole campaign, in fact, they add new shrines sprinkled in throughout. You're still getting new little things, even up to like the second last level. And even the last level, like the boss has this whole new ability, which I won't spoil. But yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. The campaign's really well put together. And I had a blast playing it, to be honest. And even when I like would take a break and come back to it, which I like to do a lot, that's not any indication of how engaging it is. That's just my bad habits. But when I come back, I'm pleasantly surprised because it's more on that casual side, and yet still kind of provides a satisfying enough challenge. It makes it really easy to get back into because it's just like, oh yeah, there's samurai, there's archers, there's cavalry. You get the point. Here's an early example of me trying to eke as much value out of my units as possible. I'm trying to figure out how can I keep all these guys alive, because that's kind of something I was trying to do during this, or at least the start of this recording, because the tutorial is now pretty trivial to me since I've played it a few times. Don't ask me why. I failed horribly in recording it multiple times in a row before this one, so yeah. Anyway, I won't get into that. What I'm saying is, right now, I have to get as much damage dealt, as many enemies slain, as I possibly can in this turn with 5 moves, while also leaving my guys in a position where my weakest units are hidden behind the stronger ones, or at least the higher armor ones, if I can help it. And even the unit I didn't move, my general, it still has a use. I've still utilized it, even without using one of my orders, because I was able to position one of my guys in front, or sorry, behind him, and now I can assure that that guy's safe. And of course now I'm deciding, wait a second, these guys have good armor, they won't die from one hit. I'm wasting this guy's action by running him away. Let's try to still get him behind my lines, and that's kind of the first example of cheese of this movement system. You kind of budge people out of the way sometimes, and if you end your your order while holding the key, you can sometimes, trick the system into thinking you got farther than you did, or you attack farther than you actually had range for, or even completely get around an obstacle that's in your way just because the entirety of it is encapsulated in your movement circle. Even though you're moving like double the distance, it doesn't matter, it's in the circle, you're fine. And your AI opponent does it too, so you're not immune to that trickery. More on that later. That cavalryman brings up a good point. They have, while I was talking, introduced another mechanic, which I haven't mentioned yet. Eating skulls. You eat the skulls of your enemies to both heal, and once you have 3 skulls, you turn into a demon, which has an extra attack and obviously more health, because you get, it doesn't only heal you, it increases your max health. There is a monk that heals you, but eating a skull increases your max health, so it's like eating the skulls of your enemies to increase your unit's strength and darken their souls until they turn into a demon. So that's pretty sick. Here we go, just skipped ahead till when you get your first archer on this level. And he's perfectly safe up there, so it's literally just teaching you, hey, you can shoot stuff. And yeah, archers are pretty good in this game, but they can't defend themselves in melee, so you usually gotta protect them. Just skipping to the end of the battle here just to show you the demon form. Fancy, huh? And of course there's this little end screen giving you a score, giving you emblems, which are mostly for the multiplayer, which is pretty dead. There is a couch hot seat, so you and up to 4 friends can huddle around your computer and play this game if that's what you want to do. Be pretty fun, I'd imagine. Just skipped the rest of that tutorial to show you the first actual level of the game, which I'll be able to show you, actually how most levels are structured. So this is more your run-of-the-mill level. You can see there's a bunch of little farm squares there. I just haunted a shrine, which I can purchase units from using the rice harvested from these little bits of farmland that I can also capture. But remember, while capturing these things, whatever unit is doing it is pretty vulnerable, so I'm covering it with my archers. And for my last move, I'm capturing a fox shrine, which, as the game will tell you, gives you a fox monk, and fox monks are your basic healer unit. They can also turn into demon fox monks. Like every monk, you can get more spells and become a demon from eating skulls. Just like regular units, except more badass and specialized. And that's the fox there. You can totally see it behind that bush. There are 3 types of monks in the game, plus an additional one in the post-game campaign that was added after the fact. And they're all introduced one by one at a steady pace, with a level devoted to them, like this one that kind of teaches you how they play. Now, what did that general just do? What are both our generals doing right now? Well, they are meditating. That is also something in the rest of the game after the tutorial that will be happening. Your general starts out meditating. As long as you don't activate him, he will keep meditating and increase his health until there's 4 full flag. Or wait, no, 3. I believe 3 full flags. As you can see, the flags kind of represent their health. Right now he's at 1.5. You can get up to double that if I wait long enough and just use my regular units without having to awaken my general. Now, the AI often awakens their general a little too early or is a little too forward with their general sometimes. If you cut them down to a certain amount of units, also known as 5, because that's the amount of orders you can do. As soon as they don't have another move available, they're like, oh, sure, I'll move the general. And, you know, they end up putting them in a place that gets them killed, which wins you the game because the Jim Raynor effect applies to them as well. So yeah, you can just do an all-out assault on the general, try to get him while he's meditating, even. And they will try to do the same to you. And that pretty much covers the basics of the game and some of its ins and outs. So by now, if you haven't figured out if this is your type of thing or not, I don't know how I can help you. But I'm gonna shut up now until the end of this level. Near the very end, there is a point where the enemy general uses that move cheesing to get around an obstacle. See, he activated it way too early. But he tries to go around and gets around my line of defenses and kills one of my archers super unexpectedly. And then I realize, oh, wait, I can just activate my general and kill him right away. So it didn't work out for him. And that'll kind of sum up the game if I haven't already. So I'll leave you to watch that. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed. Whoops, hold on. Forgot to say, Steam store page in the description.
Noko. It's a muda katakana. Ando ko di yan nakatakana. Tanda yan ako.
どんな